Hi guys, how are you? My name is Matan Peretz. I'm here with Yosef Haddad.
Hello.
How are you, my friend?
It's very hard to say good since the 7th of October. I think we spoke about it just before we started the podcast when we said it's very hard to say good morning, good evening.
That's true.
And the reason why it's very hard to say good morning or good evening today, it's because of the fact that you have 134 hostages in Gaza. And we know that they don't have a good morning. And we don't know that they don't have a good evening.
Even if they know what time it is.
Even if they know what the time is. Sometimes they don't even know the time because they are under the tunnels.
They're underground.
Underground, in the tunnels.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if they're showering. We don't know if they're eating, if they're drinking. We have no idea what's going on. Further than that, the medicines. Some of the hostages need urgent care. And we have no clue what Hamas is doing with them or not doing with them. So yes, it's very hard for me to say that I'm good or good morning, good evening. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's very important for us to move on. Mm-hmm. Make sure that the Israeli society is prospering and make sure that we are strengthening the Israeli society. It is the best knockout that we can give the terrorist organization Hamas yet. And there's a big but coming. Mm-hmm. We must not forget the 7th of October. Mm-hmm. We will move on with our lives and prosper and continue because it's important. But we must not forget the 7th of October. And we should do absolutely everything as citizens of this country to make sure that everybody knows what happened the 7th of October and to make sure that our hostages back home as soon as possible. And yes, one additional thing, destroying the terrorist organization Hamas, because this organization will keep harming us until we destroy it. That's what we need to do.
Amen to that. I got to say, I know you for a long time, not personally, but I've seen your work for the past, I think, maybe I'll round it up to 10 years. That's how long I know you. Ever since I was 25 or 26. I've seen all the operations that you going abroad and talking to people and lecturing in universities around the world, which is amazing. But for the people who don't know, I guess most of the people saw you recently, but maybe they don't know your origin story. Yeah. So maybe let me ask you, tell me briefly where you started, how you got to do what you're doing right now, so people will have a little bit of a context.
It's crazy because every time I speak to communities, I tell them, let me answer the question why I'm doing what I'm doing and how I arrived to do what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And the craziest part is, in order for me to answer this question, I have to go back to my childhood. I mean, I was born in the city of Haifa, which is the largest mixed city in Israel. You have Jews, Christians, Muslims, Druze, all together in one city. But I grew up in the city of Nazareth, what used to be the largest Arab city in Israel. Now it's Rahat, by the way.
Oh, okay.
But I did grow up when Nazareth was the largest Arab city in Israel. And as an Arab, I found it myself already through the ages of 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, playing football. I know that Americans like to call it soccer.
Soccer, okay.
We're going to call it football.
Football.
That's the name. And by the way,
that's the true name.
By the way, I had worse debates between whether to call it soccer or football than the Palestinian-Israeli conflict.
Oh, yeah, it's a very charged issue.
I just want to say to all the Americans, when you play 90% of the times with your hand, you cannot call it football.
That's absolutely true. I think that's like the.
I mean,
that's the winning argument, right? That's the winning argument. Call it handball or carrying ball.
The real football you play 90% of the times with your foot and several times with your hands. The American football is most of it with your hands. All right,
absolutely.
That's a different debate, though.
Now that we have this settled, we can move on.
We can move on. So I used to play football, and I played football in Haifa. And who were my friends? From all communities. Jews, Muslims, Christians, and Druze. And we grew up like this together. And further than that, we found ourselves not just playing football together, but going out and drinking and eating together and inviting each other to holidays in order for us to get to know the community and the culture and the tradition of each other. So when it was Christmas, a lot of the Jewish kids or the Muslim kids or the Druze kids would come to the Christian friends and visit during Christmas. Mm-hmm. If it was Eid al-Adha, for instance, then the Druze and the Muslim friends would invite the Jews and the Christians. Mm-hmm. And if it was Passover, then our Jewish friends would invite the Muslims and the Christians and the Druze to come to a Passover dinner. this just shows how it's important to get to know the tradition and the culture of each other. Now, I don't want to mix between the cultures and the traditions. I want to get to know each other, because knowing the tradition and the culture of each other makes us, or gives us a tool to bridge gaps between the communities.
Absolutely.
And one more tool that I would like to talk about is language. In my book, every Arab in Israel must learn Hebrew and know Hebrew on the best way there is. And every Jew in Israel must learn Arabic. Through language, we can bridge gaps.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing the tradition, the culture of each other's, knowing the languages of each other's, help us to bridge gaps. This is what's happening to me because I grew up like this. I arrived to the age of 18 and I decided to volunteer and serve in the IDF.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put it on the table. Only the men.
בוודאי, אנחנו כפרה ב5 דקות הראשונות.
אז בוא רק אשלים את המשפט.
So you got to the age of 18.
Yeah, so when I got to the age of 18, I decided to volunteer and serve in the IDF. Now, here's the thing. Everyone knows that only the Jewish society and the Druze men are obligated to serve in the army. But Christians and Muslims, Arabs are not obligated to serve. So I'm not obligated to serve. But then I asked the question, it's called the IDF, not the JDF.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the Jewish Defense Forces. It's the Israeli Defense Forces. And when the IDF protects Israel, the IDF protects all the citizens of Israel, including the 20% population of Arab Israelis. Mm-hmm. And when Hamas and Hezbollah and other terrorist organizations attack Israel, we saw on the 7th of October what happened. Jews and Arabs were massacred. Jews and Arabs were kidnapped by the terrorist organization Hamas. So when I decided to join and serve my country, I did it because I wanted to serve the entire Israeli society, Arabs and Jews.
Okay, that's beautiful. And then you served, I think you said Golani?
Yes, I was in the Golani Brigade. A year after that, I become a commander.
Mm-hmm.
Now, every time when I meet anti-Israeli students, and they start talking about the myth of the apartheid. Yeah. Israel is an apartheid state. Israel is an apartheid state. Further than that, even Amnesty International, which is one of the largest human rights organizations in the world, they categorized Israel as an apartheid country from the river to the sea. Now, ask them what is the river and what is the sea.
They don't know.
They have no clue.
They don't know.
But also, they even take it a few steps forward and they categorized us, the Arab who live in Israel, as Arabs who live under apartheid regime. And further than that, they categorized us and defined us as Palestinians.
Oh, wow.
Now, I had a debate with one of our representatives of Amnesty International. I asked, have you ever, before you made that report, have you spoken to people like me in the Arab community in Israel? Have you spoken to the thousands of IDF Arab officers and soldiers? Mm-hmm. Have you spoken to the thousands from the Arab community who serve and volunteer in the national service? To the officers in the police department? To the firefighters? To the paramedics? To the lawyers? To the doctors? Have you spoken to them to ask them if Israel is an apartheid state? I'll tell you even more than that. Mansour Abbas. And I have a huge gap in ideology between me and Mansour Abbas. Mansour Abbas is the head of the Islamic political party here. He has about 5 seats. He has 5 seats, which means he has about over 250,000 voters.
Mm-hmm.
Why it's relevant? Because Mansour Abbas himself said, as someone who is the head of the Islamic party in Israel.
Yeah, in the Israeli parliament.
He said himself, Israel is many things, but Israel is not an apartheid state. So you have politicians, you have people telling Amnesty International, their office is in London, how convenient, telling them that Israel is not we are telling them that Israel is not an apartheid state, but they are categorizing us as a group that lives. So let's break it down, okay? And then I'm going to give you the sentence that I was talking about regarding the army. During apartheid in South Africa, the whole idea of an apartheid regime is total separation and segregation. In South Africa, it was between the white and the black.
That's true.
How did it implement it really on the ground? Let's say public transportation. You have a line for the black people and you have a line for the white people. That's how it is. Hospitals for white people, for black people. Schools, court, justice.
Yeah.
By the way, what happened if you're black and you want to sue a white person? To which court do you go, the white or the black? Let me tell you, you go to the white and the result has already been given
it's
way
already
before
been decided.
exactly.
You know Trevor Noah?
Of course.
Trevor Noah, the stand-up comedian, is from South Africa. He grew up, with a black dad and a white mom, or the other way around.
Yes.
I don't know, but he talks about apartheid a lot, and he slammed Israel, not in this war, but in the last one. I think this one as well, because he doesn't miss a chance. And what do you have to say for him, as an individual who actually lived in an apartheid state? How is it different?
Not only that, I visited South Africa. I've been in Johannesburg. I visited also the Museum of Apartheid there. So I know from the knowledge that I consumed, and of course from what I saw, and when I met people who actually suffered from real apartheid in South Africa. So I know about the South African apartheid. There's no connection or resentment between what's going on in Israel and what's going on in South Africa. I woke up in the morning. I don't know if my bus driver, if I want to use the public transportation, I don't know if my bus driver is an Arab or a Jew. Certainly, I don't have separated lines, and I can sit wherever I want in the bus.
Yeah.
Hospitals? Hospital is the best example of the partnership between Jews and Arabs.
You
would see an Arab doctor treating a Jewish patient. You would see a Jewish doctor treating an Arab patient. You will see Jewish families and Arab families together in one room. And of course, I'm not generalizing. Anti-Semites and racists, they exist everywhere in the world, not just in Israel. But they are not the majority. And in fact, if you go to any hospital in Israel, you will see exactly what I'm talking about, from the north to the south.
21%, I got to say this, that's an actual fact. 21% of the people who finish medical school in Israel are Arabs.
I'll give you that, even more than that. We are 20% of the population in Israel. We are 30% of the doctors in Israel.
Exactly.
50% of the pharmacists in Israel.
50% of the pharmacists. That's insane. People don't know that.
No, people don't know even, let's move to a little bit of the talking about justice. We had a Supreme Court judge by the name of Salim Jubran.
That's true.
And Salim Jubran, the story is unique because as an Arab judge, he was in the team that sent to prison a Jewish prime minister and a Jewish president. It was Ehud Olmert and Moshe Katsav. So Salim Jubran sent to prison a Jewish prime minister by the name of Ehud Olmert, a Jewish president by the name of Moshe Katsav. Each one of them committed crimes, and that's why they sent to prison. This is a sentence that you cannot say in an apartheid state.
Never.
By the way, sports, during South African apartheid, New Zealand played against South Africa, rugby.
Okay, rugby.
The New Zealand team, when they came to South Africa, they had one black player on the team.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't allowed to enter.
Oh, really?
Because he's black.
Oh, wow.
Here in Israel, up until a few months ago, our national captain, football captain, was a Muslim.
That's true.
If you go back just to last August, Israel under 19 in football played again in the World Cup. We managed even to do a tremendous achievement. We got the third place.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the top scorer of Israel and the tournament? Anan Khalaili. An Arab from Haifa. So now that we know that there is any imagination between the
there's no comparison.
There's no comparison. Let me give you the sentence that I wanted to tell you.
Okay.
I, as an Arab, was a commander over Jewish soldiers in the IDF.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I was living in an apartheid state, that would have never been possible.
Never.
No way. But I was a commander in the IDF over Jewish soldiers, and they must obey my commands.
Of course.
But do you know why they, not they must, but why they respectfully obeyed my commands? I will never forget the sentence that one of my soldiers told me. We were getting prepared to an operation to enter Gaza back in 2004. He came to me and said, Commander, I have something to say. I said, go ahead. Now, obviously, before you enter Khan Yunis, you have some emotions that you want to just get off your chest.
That's true.
We know that you are entering Khan Yunis. You don't know if you're getting out of Khan Yunis.
There's some emotions are flowing.
So emotions flowing. So my soldier came to me and said, I have to tell you something that me and my friends in the unit, we spoke about. Do you know why we respect you? He tells me. I said, why? And he goes, look, we're Jews. We're obligated to be here. We didn't have any other choice.
Mm-hmm.
You're an Arab. You could have been in India now, or South Africa, or South America, traveling. You chose to be here. And you chose to lead us and to go to Gaza. That's why we respect you. And that's why we got your back. And whatever you tell us to do, we will do it.
Yes.
This is a Jewish soldier telling an Arab commander those words.
Amazing.
You and I, as Israelis, it's amazing, but it's not something crazy. I mean, well, it happens. This is the Israeli society. But to the world, to talk about those things, it's absolutely crazy because they do not understand and realize the reality of our life here. They have no clue. And I'm talking to you about people learning in the Ivy Leagues, MIT, Harvard, UPenn. They have no clue about us.
But the world is amazing. I got to say, I'm sure you felt that as well. The world is absolutely amazing with telling us what we are. This just blows my mind every time. Everybody's got to say something about who you are, who I am. They always have such strong opinions about what we should do or what we're doing. And when you say like, listen, I live here and like this